Hello everyone, we're back with a brand new series and I'm really excited to bring this one. So the general idea for this series is to just build a web app that can do everything. Now obviously that's unobtainable, but the idea is just to have an ongoing series where we build features in every single video. Don't comment just yet, but the way I want to do this is by having you guys, the viewers, basically commenting the next feature you want to see, and then people in the comment section voting. And whichever one is the most liked one, with some caveats, is the one I will implement in the next video. So I think that could be really fun. So I'm going to start building a small Django application to begin with, because we have to start somewhere. So before you comment, let me just sort of lay out the rules. So firstly, try and make the features reasonable, as in not too big. Secondly, and adding on to that point, it's not going to be a full democracy. The most upvoted comment won't necessarily be the implementation I do if it's something that's ridiculous. But obviously I'll do my best to implement the most liked comment. It's just that if it's like a huge or ridiculous request, I will probably go back to you and say, I can't do that, but how about this? On the other hand though, if the top comment is like a really small feature, too small, I might implement the next one also. So, it's worth leaving your comment anyway, because it might be that some videos I implement 2 or 3 features. And actually, hopefully that will be the case more so. I prefer lots of smaller requests rather than like one huge one. So the other rule, I guess, that needs to be in place is if someone has already given your idea, like their comment rather than commenting it again, because that would just get confusing. The last rule then, which is probably my favorite and I think it will make the series more interesting, is that when you suggest a feature, I'm also going to allow you to sort of choose a tech that you want that feature to be implemented with. So like a simple example would be, let's say we want to build a particular front end feature, I don't know, to-do list. You can also specify which CSS framework you want me to use or something. I don't know, I just want it to be fun, like for example, we did that video on DuckDB recently, so maybe it's that for one particular view in our Django application, you actually want the data on that page to be pulled from DuckDB rather than just a normal SQL-like database or our Postgres database or whatever. So yeah, just be creative, and yeah, it should be fun. And actually, most importantly, this is what I want to say is, the feature can be anything. It doesn't even have to be related to the previous thing we did. I don't care about that. It doesn't have to make sense. Maybe one page is a to-do list, maybe the next page is something completely different. So I think the key point is like the more creative, the better, and the more detailed, the better. So yeah, cool. You're probably bored of me talking by now, so we'll actually write a tiny bit of code now. So to start things off, I've created a directory called tes, which just stands for the everything site. I'm going to start us off with Django, but before that I'm going to create a virtual environment, and I guess I'll call it tesenv. Then we want to make sure to activate it, so like that. So technically Django 5 has just been released quite recently, but I think it's still under development, so we are going to go with the latest LTS version, which is Django 4.2.5. Let's grab that, pip install that. Lovely. And I guess we want to pin all of the Python packages we're using, so I'll do this command, pip freeze, and put them all into a requirements file. So if we just have a look at that, we can see all the things we've currently got installed. Next, we're going to do our Django admin start project command, and we are creating a project called tes, but what I'm doing is we're basically saying put manage.py in here, rather than creating another directory called tes as well. So now, this is the root of our document. The other thing I'm just going to install is pip tools. I like to use this to basically manage all our Python packages that we're going to be installing. It's just nicer than just using normal pip, because it's just going to make sure that everything is compatible. And the way we actually use that tool is we would create something called requirements.in. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to copy all the contents from requirements.txt into a file called requirements.in. So that's what we do. We would then remove requirements.txt because we're going to generate that. So right now, all we've got is this requirements.in file, which is the same as the file we just had a second ago, except what we do now is we would do a pip compile, like so. What this now does is it generates our requirements.txt file, which we can see here. And what it would actually, so in this particular case, it doesn't really do anything because we've specified all of these versions. But what would happen is if you wanted Django to work with a particular version of some other software, it would automatically find one that's compatible. and then we would do pip. So we did pip compile, and then we would do pip sync, which basically updates all our packages we've got installed, and everything is up to date, of course, because we just pip installed this by default. And again, it also is quite cool because it will tell us like why. So we installed Django via requirements file, and then we grabbed this because of Django, and we grabbed this because of Django, and then we grabbed this here because of this here, which we grabbed because of Django. So all we did initially was install Django, and then Django went and grabbed all of these packages also, which it was dependent on, and pip tools just gives us all that information. Cool. I think the last thing we need to do in this episode is just make sure our server is running. And there you go, we've got our Django installation set up correctly. And that's it. So all you need to do now is comment a feature that you want to see on this website, and I'll build it. And yeah, see you in the next video.